Hello, Sovereign Lovers. Danny Panzella Velez here. Today I want to talk about cannabis is a gateway drug. It certainly was for me. Back in the early 2000s, I was pretty conservative. I had a pretty conservative view about drugs. I was libertarian in the sense that I thought they should be legal, but I also didn't think people should be doing them. And cannabis was something that a lot of my friends did around me, and was very irritating for me and a source of like a lot of conflicts. I'd be trying to have conversations and they'd be stoned, and I would just get frustrated and annoyed, you know, kind of like being sober, hanging around drunk people. That's kind of the way I viewed it. And then in 2005, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer for the second time. She had beaten it about 10 years before. And this was the second time she was diagnosed, and it was spreading quickly. It came back within, she was getting checked every 6 months, and it came back within that 6-month period. It like rocketed to stage 4. So after about a year of going with her to her chemo appointments, taking her to the appointments, and it not really helping, I started to do research into alternative medicine. And I came across a study that was done in the 1990s in Spain, and they had done a rat trial where they were able to cure something like 90% of the rats' brain tumors by injecting them directly with THC. And this blew my mind, because up until that point I had thought cannabis is, it was at the time medically legal in California. I don't think anywhere else, but I had always just thought cannabis is like an alternative to opioids. Okay, for pain relief, and it has the added benefit of, it helps stimulate appetite, gives people the munchies. So cancer patients who may lose their appetite from the chemo. So, okay, cool. That's great. That, up until that point, that's all I thought it was good for. Then I started to do more research into it and saw how much actual, real medicinal value cannabis has. There's a lot of scientific evidence, and I would even argue proof. But I shot a documentary on this, which is still not finished. So I interviewed 25 different doctors and scientists who were experts on cannabis. And the real problem, the real reason why we don't have proof of real empirical proof according to the medical establishment is because it has not been legal really until, it's obviously, as time goes on, it's getting better, the legal framework for research. But even up to just a year or two ago, only 14 doctors in the country were even legally allowed to study cannabis, and they had to use the cannabis that the government would provide for them through, I think it was University of Michigan grows it for the research programs. So they're very limited. Their hands are basically tied to get into the real good research. Anyway, once I shot that documentary and I interviewed all those doctors, I was like, holy cow, this really is medicine. Nancy Reagan lied to me. I grew up in the Nancy Reagan just say no era, and I was lied to. And I remember junior high, I remember the drug part of the health class, I think it was. They did sex education, and they did a lot of drug war propaganda. So I realized that I was lied to about cannabis. What else was I lied to? And coincidentally, this is when Vanessa and I we're getting into the time when we're starting our psychedelic journey. Vanessa had started using cannabis oil to treat her lower back pain. She used to have to take high doses, 200 milligrams sometimes a day, to help with her back pain. For those who don't know, the edible that will get you high off your ass is usually about 25 milligrams, to give you some context for that. So she was taking almost, at one point, 200 milligrams a night. And, some of that is due to desensitization, but also when you have legitimate health issues, depending on what they are, sometimes the energy that would normally go to making you high gets used for the healing. And so you actually, I've found in my experience, cancer patients that I know that were taking high doses of cannabis oil were not really getting that high because all of the medicine was going to whatever their cancer was to help heal it. I mean, I'm sitting on all this footage. I have all these doctors, and I'm sure they have other videos out there, but I got to get this thing edited because there's a lot of really good information in this documentary. DoesPotCureCancer.com is the website for the documentary if you want to go sign up. So eventually when I finish it, you'll get a notification. So now Vanessa and I were suggested to do mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms. Had I not done all that research about cannabis, I wouldn't have been open to doing the mushrooms. I wouldn't have been open to taking MDMA, which MDMA taught me how to be able to empathize with other people. I like to say it taught me the vibration of empathy. And now I can recall that energy anytime I like. So MDMA actually, and my wife, taught me how to empathize with other people on a deep level. And had I not done all that research, I still would be thinking cannabis was, just for people who want to get stoned. And it doesn't really have much medical value, if any. I would still be living in that Nancy Reagan consciousness. So cannabis is a gateway drug, absolutely. I would say it's a gateway into higher consciousness, into expanded consciousness, into knowing and being able to see through the matrix around us. This matrix, the control matrix, that has been carefully built by social engineers, the New World Order, the Illuminati, the 1%, whatever you want to call it. They've kind of built this invisible cage around us, or it's not invisible. It actually, we can just break out of it, right? But it seems like we can't. And that's what cannabis has helped me to do, is to see through the matrix and open myself up to medicines that have healed me of addiction. Mushrooms healed me of addiction. It healed Vanessa of her addictions as well. It has healed a lot more than that. But these are powerful medicines. So yeah, cannabis is a gateway drug. It's a gateway to higher consciousness and healthier living. I now have a desire that I know is a result of my work with plant medicines to be more in tune with nature. I respect the planet a lot more, right? No, I don't think global warming is going to kill us in 12 years. I think there are natural cycles to the earth that are way longer than the lifespan of any particular species, including human. Mother Earth will be around long after we're gone, and I don't really believe we are much of a threat to her. At the same time, I don't think we should be intentionally disrespecting her either. And I now have that value that I never really had before. I was a consumer before, and now I'm much more intentional about the way I live my life. And I really can say that I owe that to cannabis, opening that door to plant medicine. So I want to give my gratitude to cannabis, and for the mother and father working together to give us all plant medicines. The energy of the sun and the fertile ground of the earth give us these medicines, and or plant allies, as we like to call them, who help us get through this life. So I want to give my gratitude to cannabis, to the spirit of cannabis that has taught me so much, to the mushrooms, to Mother Ayahuasca, to all the plant medicines that we take for granted sometimes, the ones that aren't psychedelic, vegetables, and herbs, everything that the mother grows that nourishes us, and the trees that give us oxygen to breathe, and the ocean behind me that helps keep a lot of those systems going and running. So thank you for taking the time to watch. I hope that you found this a little bit enlightening or encouraging, or maybe helps you look at your own cannabis use in a new way. I love you, and have a good night. Have a good night.